In these problems, we're being asked to divide a polynomial by some other expression. And this looks like it might be complicated, and it is, but it's a lot like the long division you learned in 4th grade. So if you can remember that, that's going to come in really handy. I'm going to show you the manual way to do this with paper and pencil, but I have to be honest with you, I don't think any sane adult would do it this way. If they, for some reason, had to find this answer, they would use an online tool. And I'll show you one of those too. You can use that at least to check your work. But let's do a reminder about long division. Let's say you wanted to divide 364 by 7. You'd set it up like this with this little bracket here, the 364 there, the thing you're dividing by here. And really what you're asking is, how many groups of 7 are there in 364? The way you did this in 4th grade is you said, well, let's start with 3. Are there any groups of 7 in 3? Well, no, because 3 is smaller than 7. So let's go to the next digit, 36 now we have. How many groups of 7 could you fit in 36? And then you tell yourself, I know that 7 times 5 is 35, and that's almost 36, so I think I can fit 5 groups of 7 in there. Once you've got that number, you multiply. 7 times 5 is 35. And then you take this number and you subtract it. 36 minus 35 is 1, and then you bring down this number here. So now we have 14, and we have to ask how many. Actually, let's change this. Let's change this to 3. I want a remainder here. So let's say we bring down the 3, we have 13. How many 7s are in 13? Well, 2 times 7 is 14, so this is smaller than that. So we can fit 1 in there. 1 times 7. We write it down here. We subtract again. We get 6. So we say our remainder is 6 because we can't do any more dividing. So we have 51, and we might write it like this, 51, remainder 6. Another way of thinking about that is our answer to the question, how many groups of 7 can fit into 363, is 51 and 6/7 groups of 7. You can put the remainder over that initial divisor, and this is 51 and 6/7 groups of 7 fit into 363. So we're going to do something very similar with these polynomials. Let me show you how that works. So we'll write it out the same way. This one is actually really convenient because we have each power of x represented here, x to the 3rd, the 2nd, the 1st, etc. So we'll just simply write it out the way it is. It's all in order from highest to lowest power, and that's how you need it for this division to work. And we'll put it in that same kind of bracket for division, and we'll put our divisor out here. So just like before when we asked how many 7s could we fit into 36, we're going to ask how many x's, we'll ignore this part for now, can we fit into 2 times x to the 3rd? And another way to think about that is, what can I multiply by x to get exactly 2x to the 3rd? The answer is 2x squared. If I multiply 2x squared times x, I'll get 2x to the 3rd. And that's what I want, because I want to write down 2x to the 3rd right here and then subtract it away so that it disappears. I put the 2x squared up above the x squared in the problem because they're both x squared. So this is the column. We'll keep track of the x squared terms. So I've got my initial number or guess up here, and I'm going to multiply through the whole thing. So first 2x squared times x, that's 2x to the 3rd. And then 2x squared times the negative 4, that's minus 8x squared. Now, sorry, that's minus 8x squared. Now we can subtract, and you have to be pretty careful here because it can get confusing with the signs. We're subtracting this whole thing. So the first term here, the x cubed term, is 2x cubed minus 2x cubed. That's 0. I won't even write that. And then we have a negative x squared minus a negative 8x squared. So that's like negative 1x squared plus 8x squared. You're going to get 7x squared, and that's a positive 7x squared. Then we bring down the next term, just like we would in our regular division. Okay, so we've gone once around the block here. Now we're going to repeat the process. We've got 7x squared down here, and my next question is, what do I multiply by x to get 7x squared? The answer is 7x, because 7x times x is 7x squared. And then, of course, 7x times negative 4, I've got to do it there too. That's minus 28x. And we'll subtract this whole expression. So 7x squared minus 7x squared is 0. Negative 4x minus a negative 28x, so that's like plus 28x, is going to be 24x, a positive 24x. And then we bring this term down. That's minus 100. And now the question is, what do I multiply by x to get 24x? The answer is 24. So 24 times x is 24x. And 24 times negative 4 is negative 96. And then we'll subtract this term. And what we get is, well, 0 here, 24x minus 24x. And we get a negative 100 minus a negative 26. That's negative 100, plus 96. That comes out to minus 4. We can't really do anything with that. There are no x's in it, so we can't divide any further. This is our remainder. And the way we write that is the number over the divisor. So negative 4 over x minus 4. So our total answer here is 2x squared plus 7x plus 24 minus 4 over x minus 4. All right, let's try one more, just because this one has a few tricks they're trying to confuse you with. So here we have negative 5 plus x cubed. Divide that by negative 4 plus x. Well, first of all, they're not written in the order things are normally written in, which is starting with the higher power. So we need to do that. So I'm going to start with x cubed. And then for this division process to work, we actually need each power of x. So if there's nothing for x squared there, we would write that as 0x squared. And if there's nothing for an x term, we'd write that as plus 0x. And then we have a negative 5. So this is equivalent to this expression. Negative 5 plus x cubed is the same as x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 5. And we're also going to turn this around so the x is first. So this is, instead of negative 4 plus x, this is just x minus 4. Now we'll go through that same division process. What do I have to multiply x by to get x cubed? Well, that's x squared. So this is x cubed and then minus 4x squared after I've done the multiplication. We subtract this, we get 0 here, and we get 0 minus a negative 4x squared. That's a positive 4x squared. Next question, oh, and we have to bring this term down, so plus 0x. Next question is, what do I multiply x by to get 4x squared? Well, that would be 4x. So 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times negative 4 is negative 16x. And we subtract, so these two terms come out to 0. Here we have 0x minus a negative 16, so that's like plus 16x. And bring down our last term, minus 5. So the question is, how do we get 16x? Well, we multiply x by 16. So 16 times x is 16x. 16 times negative 4 is negative 64. We subtract that whole thing. We get 16x minus 16x, that's 0. And a negative 5 minus a negative 64. So negative 5 plus 64, I think that's going to be 59. So that's our remainder. We write that as 59 over our initial divisor of x minus 4. And our final answer here is x squared plus 4x plus 16 plus 59 over x minus 4. Now let me show you how to do this on a computer application like Wolfram Alpha. Any sane adult, as I was mentioning before, would probably use a different method to divide polynomials other than long division. And one great method is this website called Wolfram Alpha. It can do all kinds of wonderful math computations and show you visual representations of those things. So it's a pretty cool tool to use. Now, your math teacher might say this is cheating, so please be warned and make sure that you're doing things that are okay, and so you're not going to get caught for cheating or called out for cheating. But just poking around on Wolfram Alpha is a way for you to learn a ton of stuff. Now, if I had to do that problem, it was 2x cubed. Let me type this in. 2x Now, you have to know how to type these things in. If I want to raise something to a power, I do the Shift 6 and get that little upward pointing arrow. So there's 2x cubed, and then it was minus x squared, and minus 4x, and minus 100. All of that was divided by something else. So what I'm going to do is use parentheses to make sure we don't get confused here and divide only one of the terms or something. So that whole chunk is divided, and here I use the slash for divide. And then I'll put in parentheses again our next part, and it was x minus 4. So let's go ahead and see what that equals. It computes there, and it gives us the input. It shows us this divided by that, so that's good. I did type it in right. That's something to check always, that you haven't made a mistake that way. Shows us some interesting plots, and then give us a couple of different ways of looking at it. Probably the most relevant one is going to be this one. So I got 2x squared plus 7x, and then it does something funny. It puts the remainder next. Because this is a term with x in it, we were putting the remainder at the end, so we would have written this as plus 24 and then minus 4 over x minus 4. But there is the answer in Wolfram Alpha. Let's try the other one that way too. We had, let's see, and remember that one we were missing all those terms, so we had to put in 0x squared and 0x and so forth. We won't have to do that here. I'm going to make two sets of parentheses with a division sign in between. In the first one, we had negative 5 plus x cubed, so x to the power of 3. And then we had negative 4 plus x. Let's see what Wolfram Alpha does with this one. All right, so it gives it back to us. That looks like the correct input. We've got some plots. And we've got our solution here. So x squared plus 4x plus 16, and then our remainder plus 59 over x minus 4. I think that's exactly what we got. So if you can use Wolfram Alpha in these situations, even just to check your work, I would recommend it.